Morning, everybody. As you may or may not know, it is currently Thursday, April 26, 2012. It is day 9 daily 454, and we are about to learn how to be a better gamer. Yes, we're going to be doing Leenock versus Parting today. It's going to be a pretty unusual Zerg versus Protoss. There were actually two games that were pretty weird. We might have time to do both, but I figure rather than just try to rush, I'll ask which one you'd like to check out, and then we'll do that one. I couldn't decide last night between doing them, which is actually increasingly becoming a weird issue for me personally, because this is Europe week, so these are actually happening at 10 a.m., hence why I'm always, looking a little bit moist on the head, because I have just woken up to shower. And with the daily being at 7 p.m. normally, I'm used to this feeling of, okay, I have an idea of what I want to do the night before, and then I can get up and I can begin preparing in the afternoon, and I'll be done at like 6, and then I'll have this grace period, and then I'll begin the show. I just get used to that. But with these 10 a.m. dailies, it's like I do it, and then I'm like, I'm free all afternoon, everything's amazing, and then it becomes 10 p.m., and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't prepared for the show yet. Oh my, it's like I get out of the habit, because these shows take about 3 to 4 hours of time to just do a show. I don't mean like I mean like prep time beforehand, because there's a ton of replays that I watch that you don't see me watching and going, well, this game is stupid, there's nothing of value here. Because what I don't want is the day 9 daily to generate something down to like, well, it's another air opening in PvZ, and I guess he's gonna go colossus stalker, and look at that, he did the same thing he did yesterday. Thanks for watching. Ad. That's like a jerk thing to do. But fortunately, I ended up searching for something that was delightful, did a little bit of research across the Parting Leenock front, found some juicy games, and then did one of the worst decisions that has ever been made. I said to myself, let me just check the front page of Reddit for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. That's it. And then about 3 hours later, it's like 3:34 in the morning, and I was like, make yourself go to bed, Sean! I don't know why it's so hard to just stop reading stupid articles. It's not like I'm midway through a season of 24 where I'm like, who's Jack gonna torture now? I have to watch the next episode. This is me on Wikipedia reading about the percentage of penguin migration by month breakdown to the North Arctic, right? This is not something I like, no, I'm really hooked on penguins, but there's this urge to just know shit as a human. And of course I woke up and decided, no, you're going to be responsible. You might look sleepy, but you're going to shave, you're going to bathe, you're going to do that daily. And then let me just briefly check the GSL results. I'm just going to check, just for 5 minutes, check the GSL results. So then it was 9:42, and I was admiring MC's play for the third game in a row, and I thought, I should go ahead and get ready. And I made it. I'm actually here. I'm actually alive today. And in StarCraft-related news, but not Day 9 Daily-related news, GLHF Magazine just released issue 1. I want to actually show this thing. This is an incredible triumph of community stuff, of the community's ability to be awesome. If you go to this website, come on camera, come on, screw it, I'll just hit the button. If you go to glhfmag.com, it's a StarCraft news magazine, and look what happens when I view it online. Look at this beautiful thing. It's 68 pages long. It's like a full magazine. I was oogling at it like crazy this morning. Look at how gorgeous this is, all these photos, reviews of games, reviews of just important things in the SC2 community. I mean, it was so slick that I was like, oh, talking about it on a daily. And that's that. That's all I have to say about those things. And now I want to go ahead and talk about Zerg versus Protoss, this matchup that we are going to embark upon today with awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the typical Zerg versus Protoss matchup a little bit. Zerg vs. Protoss is actually, I would call, one of the most stagnant matchups around right now. Protosses have kind of tended to fall back on early expanding pretty much every game. The The Zerg buddies have... okay, let me come back to the Protoss. Protoss is pretty much early expand. They'll do something at the start of the game, whether it be air or something gateway focused. But the Protoss will generally be going for Colossus, Blinkstalker, Sentry on 3 bases, eventually transitioning to a mothership, but doing some sort of large doom push around the 17, 18, 19 minute mark, pretty typically. The Zerg side of things tends to be 3 bases, going for roaches and speed Zerglings to defend, getting some speed roaches up, and then kind of figuring out some way to go for infestor broodlord with a bunch of spines. This is basically it. This is the matchup that we've been seeing for a long time. And as a result, I haven't reviewed that many Zerg vs. Protoss games because there's just not that much interesting to note. There was I think it was daily 436, it may have been. I don't know, I should probably name them better so I can remember. Daily 436 was a simple PvZ 3-base opening, but it was still breaking it down into that same mixture. So in Parting versus Leenock, it's actually from the IPL replay pack. If we actually go to, if we actually click here, we can see that there is the all IPL 4 SC2 replays. So for any of you looking for any research, that just came out. And we are actually going to be going to this series of Leenock versus Parting, where both games end up being quite long, and both of them end up being kind of unorthodox, especially in terms of the transitioning we see out of Leenock. Parting plays pretty standard in one of the games, but like an absolute nutcase in the other. So here are the 2 games that I want to present, and we're just going to take a game poll from the chat. One of the games has a very crazy finish. Both games are pretty crazy in general, but one game has Parting playing kind of normally. Not very normally, but kind of normally in the way that I just described. Leenock plays very brilliant. There's not a lot of battling going on in this game, but it's very brilliant by Leenock's transitioning. So we're going to call that option 1. The second game is a low econ kind of battle, where again there's very clever transitioning from both players, but it ends up being a little bit weirder. So that game might be a little more interesting to watch at the start. The other game's more interesting to watch at the end. But 1 is the more normal game with the crazy end. 2 is the game that starts crazy and gets kind of normal throughout. So I'll just be taking a visual poll from it. It looks like I'm seeing a lot of 2s in the chat. Yeah, let's go ahead and hop into game number 2. And if we have time, we're going to hop into the other one, at the very least the start of the other one. So now that I have this open, let's do this. I feel like there's something else I want to say. There is! Yes! Do you like how I can blur my camera really hard? Oh crap, is my mic setting also good? Yes. I had an epiphany of something I wanted to say, and then I blanked. All right, here. This will fix it. I remember. Sunday is subscriber mana battles. Oh, subscriber mana battle. If you are European and you would like to play in the subscriber mana battles, we'll just show up at the same time you're showing up right now, 7 p.m. CET or CEST or whatever time it is in Europe. I will be playing subscriber mana battles for about 2 hours on Sunday morning from 10 to noon. And then in the evening, I'll still be doing a daily machine mode. I think. I actually just said that, and I think I scheduled something. Screw it. Subscriber mana battles. I'll miss you. Let's go ahead and hop into the game. This is game number 2. This is the sort of weird game. Now, for any of you who don't know this map, the only thing that you really need to know is that the mini-map looks like a bear trying to hug you. Do you see it? We have 2 eyes. We have the ear expansions. We have the large paws reaching up to hug you. He's a lovable bear. And suddenly it is called Atlantis Shipyard, right? I know that's really stupid. of me not to remember that name properly, but this is the sort of thing that I forget. I'll watch like 50 games on the map, and I'll blank on the freaking name. Atlantis Spaceship, thank you, chat. Antigua Shipyard, Atlantis Spaceship. So, a couple things are going to be a little bit odd right out the gate. First of all, we're noting that the distance between the bases... actually, many people may not have seen this map, as it's one of those pro-only maps, hasn't made it to the ladder. There's a third expansion, kind of like a walk down here, and it has this vulnerable open right side, so in that regard, it's much like Core Hall Compound. But the important thing... Oops. The important thing is that as we move out to our front, there's also this little hook-in, tucked-away expansion that has this rich Vespene geyser, as well as these other geysers. So this is sort of a juicy expo, but it has this low-ground vulnerability, where literally I can walk up with roaches and just kill this. Now, we're seeing Parting go for the fairly infamous early expand first. I don't dislike this so much. This seems quite vulnerable against a lot of things, most notably a 6 pool, especially on a map like this. The way players are coping with this is not scouting very early. They keep this probe at home for the extra minute or two, and this gives them a few extra minerals that they can use to throw down these buildings. MVP Tails is very good at doing this if you watch his stream. However, Parting really is just playing like a man who's made of balls. This is just bold. Notice how early this gateway is. Here is just some general good mid-game thought processing. With Chrono Boost. Chrono Boost is 50% faster for 30 seconds. So in other words, it means you do 30 seconds of build time. Or excuse me, it's 20 seconds long at 50% faster. So in 20 seconds, you do 30 seconds worth of build time. In other words, every chrono boost you spend on something reduces its overall build time by 10 seconds. So for instance, Warp Gate is 160 seconds. You chrono boost it once, now it will take 150 seconds. Every chrono boost you spend pops 10 seconds off. So if you spend 4 chronos on Warp Gate, it will be 40 seconds faster. Really normal. So this is extremely important for early expanders because for every 10 seconds earlier that you build this gateway, that's your cybernetics core coming out 10 seconds earlier, which means that's 1 chrono boost less that you have to spend on that warp gate and that you can instead be spending on pro production. There we go. So this is a really ballsy play. Leenock, interestingly, is going for the hatch first. One of the reasons that players are starting to do this nowadays is that on maps like this, if you just look at the jagged space around here, there's a lot of holes in the minerals where I can squeeze drones through. It's hard to make a wall with the cannons. Cannon rushing is the biggest threat to an early expand these days. But more importantly, if a cannon rush did happen, Parting would have to devote heavy resources to trying to pick this off. And then Leenock would just cancel and go here or go here. And then all of a sudden we have Parting, who has gone for some sort of Forge First epic cannon rush and is still not really taking an expansion yet. It ends up working out a little bit better in the Zerg's favor. I've seen a couple of games where the Zerg just lets the cannon rush happen, cancels, moves elsewhere, and then crushes with a ridiculous drone count. Oh, there's a dance party going on in the chat, and there are no mods here to stop it. That is hilarious. So I'm going to go ahead and pick things up a little bit. Protosses actually have been going a little bit nuts with the chrono boosting on the probes lately, which I like. This is a very early warp gate. Like a very freaking early warp gate. Jeez, we're not even at 30 food and it's still getting churned out. Leenock is going for the 3 base expand. This is pretty standard stuff. But this is something that I liked quite a bit. Let me actually just back up to here. There we go, at the 4-minute and 50-second mark. At this very moment in time, a big decision happens for Leenock. He actually throws down 1 geyser. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but there's 3 big things that we need to worry about as Zerg against an early expanding Protoss. We need to worry about 1 big warp gate pressure coming at us and ruining our day. Around the 8-minute mark, 7:30 if he's going really crazy. So that's 1. The second one is Stargate play. We need Spore Crawlers and Queens up. And the third is a Protoss just going for the long-term play. So, in other words, we both need to be able to build units to defend against this big push, be able to build these Spore Crawlers, but not overcommit to either of those in the off chance that he is not going to attack us. We always have to consider him not doing the thing we're worried about. Worried about DT rush and want to build a turret? Ask yourself what happens if he does not do that. And then you'll go, ah. So, ordinarily, what a Zerg player will do is double gas at 6, Roach Warren somewhere between 6 and 7. Most players skew towards the 7 side. And then that way we will be able to build Roaches at the 8-minute mark if we need to, because we see a rush. And we're spending a good amount of time on drones. But interestingly, Leenock is getting 1 geyser a little bit earlier, and we'll be going for a much earlier Zergling speed. Yeah, look at that. Second extractor going down now. Really like this. This is, I think, a more modern approach due to the fact that these maps are larger. Getting slow roaches earlier on might not behoove us nearly as much as getting speedlings early on. And now we see Parting getting his mixture of lots of gateways up. And chrono boosting quite a bit on those warp gates. Traditionally, we see the warp gate on an early expand finishing at like 7:40. He's going to be finished like long before that. But per usual, the classic issue is that if you are chrono boosting like crazy on the warp gate, make sure that you have a pylon nearby, because if you don't, you have a really early warp gate that you devoted all your time to, and absolutely nothing will come of it. I mean, holy crap. His warp gate is finished at 7. Every Zerg is puking. Every single Zerg is puking. Okay, so one of the cool things about Leenock's transitioning here, and the thing that I find especially brilliant, he gets this 1 geyser early, and then the second one a little bit on its heels, and then he is going for metabolic boost right off the bat. You'll notice that it has 1 minute left, or excuse me, 1 minute left on it. And yes, I do round 69 down to 60. Does have 1 minute left, so it will be ready for that big push that's generally happening a little bit after 8 minutes. Roach Warren gets thrown down a little bit early as well at 6 minutes. But especially we see this blind layer going down. Literally has not seen any pressure. Is not seeing a warp gate play, is not seeing Stargate. In other words, just blindly getting this layer really, really early and auto-building a small set of units. Love, love, love this so much. And now we see one of the cool abuses that you can do on Atlantis spaceship. Some nice control, but Legend really needs to, excuse me, Parting, really kind of needs to ramp up the aggro-ness. So this is the one thing that's extremely nice about the position that Parting finds himself in right now. Parting, obviously, or excuse me, this is a great fact about the situation Leenock finds himself in. Ordinarily, with these sorts of early pushes, and this was not nearly as fast as it could have been. This was about, I would say, 45 seconds, a minute too late. This sort of pressure will typically leave the Zerg player semi-low on the drone count, and that's what we see. He's at 39. We've killed off some workers, not a huge amount, because Zerg basically can get workers for free. LOL! Yeah, but this is generally where the Zerg player will go, oh god, I finally held it off, now let me resume normal mode. But what we see Leenock doing instead, I love this so much. Look how early that layer is. Just blindly got it. Still had enough gas because he got this geyser early and this one before 6 minutes. Now he's able to just start speed right away. And suddenly, in a minute of his own, he is going to be able to do some aggressive pushing with these roaches. So slick, so clean. Leenock, the mean green bean. And now I speed it up a bit. In a fairly standard set of transitions, we see parting. Oh, excuse me. Parting is going for the... if you go for this 4-gate, like this 4-gate push, instantly building a robo is going to be your next best bet. Because the instant the push dies off, you want to be able to build immortals and then sentries, because the roach counterattack really is the scariest thing that can happen to you at that point in time. And if you don't see roaches, well, now you know exactly how to transition. That's one thing that I honestly like most about doing an early 4-gate push. You just see exactly what the hell's up. Freaking exactly what the hell is up. So here comes a very unusual push from parting. Normally, we get these gateways, we get this robo, and then we'll do something like build a twilight, and then we'll expand. Or we'll do something like get a 5th gate, expand, and then get a twilight, and then get a robo. But instead, we see parting getting a lot more gateways. I went to the unit counting station to get a gateway count. Let's see if we can just find them. Find the gateways, guys. Yeah, 7 gateways. First 3, then another 3. Yeah, just going for this triple gateway play. And insta-pushing with a ton of sentries and immortals. Really brilliant push. The only thing he's really going to be worried about is a lot of Zerglings, but he saw his opponent was on roach. And now he's going to do this push to try to exploit the largely roach numbers with these 1/1 immortals. It's a timing push followed up by another timing push, really hot on the heels. I mean, the other attack finished like a few minutes ago. So I just thought that was super slick and super clever. But the problem that he's going to run into, and we're going to see after the break, is that these roaches already have speed and have already had speed for a while. So Leenock is literally programmed to kill off these sorts of pushes. The one thing that you will note that is missing a little bit from this mixture that Leenock has is that he has completely skipped over an evolution chamber. Talk a little bit about that in a moment. But for now, we've got to go to a break, so that way I can finish the show at a reasonable time. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Aw, yeah.